Happy Wednesday, everyone. We are so happy to be here with you to share with you a little bit of what we're learning. And we miss you. We wish we could hug you, and we look forward to the day that we're together again. But until that time, we want to pick up right where we left off yesterday. And we're talking today about what this present normal seems to be like during our stay-at-home quarantine.
And some of the words, as we thought about that, some of the words that we thought of were the idea that it's a time of quiet, it's a time of rest, it's a time where there's really maybe no real clock that you have to operate by, and much more uninterrupted time that you might have, which may lead you to be having maybe a little bit of boredom. So those are the words that we thought of, but maybe those words don't describe you.
Yeah, I'm thinking, if you're a mom and you've got kids at home, or a dad and you're working from home and you're trying to homeschool, maybe you're a student, you've been thrown back into the mix with your family. There's all kinds of ways our lives have been interrupted during this time, and we have to kind of adjust to how it's going. And back in the beginning when it happened, I saw something on social media that I immediately contacted all of our grown kids and told them about. I said, hey, listen to this thing I found. It said, when your grandchildren come to you one day and say, what were you doing during the coronavirus pandemic quarantine time? Don't be one who says, well, I was just hanging around with sending memes back and forth to my friends. I said, please, I beg you, don't be that person. We need to be intentional with this time and look at it as a time that God has given us to redirect or refocus what we're doing.
And as we've talked, what the goal of this week is, what does this look like when this ends? Where do we want to be? What do we want to look like? We don't want to waste this time that we have been given. And there's a tendency that we may try to do that. So even with our life, as I said yesterday, just the experiences of going through this are different for all of us. But our current normal right now is one of much more freedom, a little more time to ourselves. And so we've been trying to do things like get a little more exercise, go on walks. We're trying to read some more books.
He says that like it's his idea to go out for
walks. It's not really my idea, but I'm trying to do it.
One of us has to force that.
Yes. And we're trying to, again, do some things that we normally wouldn't do.
Really making some space. I think it's been fun for us we go to bed a little bit later, we get up a little bit later in the morning. We are working from home, so our dining room has been transformed into our little office. But we do find that we have time for things that we used to be too tired for.
And one thing that we've noticed too is that by trying to do some different things, by reading some more books, Angela's been working on multiple puzzles. And I think one thing that we found is that we're not preoccupied with having the TV on all the time. We have not been binge watched a whole bunch of different shows.
We're kind of finicky on what we're letting get in to our minds.
But I think we're trying to be wise with how we do that. And so that's the point of this new normal that we find ourselves in. What does it look like? And so the verses that we've talked about, we each have some verses we'd like to share today, kind of from our own perspective. And the ones that I chose are from the book of Ephesians chapter 4, starting at verse 17. And Paul writes and he says this, now this I say, and I testify in the Lord, that you must no longer walk as the Gentiles do in the futility of their minds. And then skipping down to verse 14, that you would put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and to put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. And I think the goal here is, reading that, is we should not be living like everyone else during this time. There should be a difference to us as followers of Jesus Christ of how our life looks. The Gentiles, the world around us, is being drawn by their own evil desires and their sinfulness, and yet we're encouraged to put on the new self, to follow after the holiness of God, and to do things that will help us as we're in this current time, to see God, see what He's doing, and to grow and to be more like Him as we go through this time in our life.
I've chosen to start reading at the beginning of chapter 3 in Colossians in a paraphrase that I love. And I love because where it picks up. It's picking up right in the church calendar where Christians, we have just left off, which is kind of right after the resurrection. And because it starts here. If you're serious about living this new resurrection life with Christ, And that is our goal, right? We're trying to live out the gospel in everything, even in this new normal. If you're serious about living this new resurrection life with Christ, act like it. Pursue the things over which Christ presides. Don't shuffle along, eyes to the ground, absorbed with the things right in front of you. Look up and be alert to what is going on around Christ. That's where the action is. See things from his perspective. Your old life is dead. Your new life, which is your real life, even though invisible to spectators, is with Christ in God. He is your life. When Christ, your real life, remember, shows up again on this earth, you'll show up too, the real you, the glorious you. Meanwhile, be content with obscurity like Christ. And I thought, wow, isn't that so many of us right now? We're not seen. We're invisible to spectators. We're closed off in our homes. But when we were out for a walk the other day, and of course we live in a beautiful setting, I remember thinking, stop looking at the ground. Look up. Look up at all the wondrous things around us. And that is where Christ is. He wants us to look up, to fix our gaze on him, and then put our focus there, not on these things in front of us. We really have to be careful about how much noise you let in to influence where your heart and soul focus is going.
So as we wrap up for today, just a reminder, again, we're in this present new normal. It's different than what the past was. So how are we approaching what we do and how we live our life today? Can we live differently? Can we not live like those around us who do not know Christ, who do not have hope? And may we have our eyes up, looking around and seeing all that God is doing, not getting caught up in the muck and the mire of the circumstances, but looking up for Christ, who is our hope. And may we just rejoice in all that he's done for us and all that he is doing with us. Tomorrow we'll be back. We want to talk about our future normal, what the future may look like, and we'll see you then.
We'll be praying for you.
Have a great day.